The samurai understood something modern men have forgotten. Discipline is not built in moments of inspiration. It is forged in the cold, dark hours when every fiber of your being screams for comfort. They called it Misogi, purification through ordeal. But this was no mystical abstraction. It was a daily contract signed in ice water at 4 in the morning. In the year 1643, Miyamoto Musashi, the sword saint who won 60 duels before he turned 30, wrote in his final text that the way of the warrior is in morning practice. He did not mean practice with the sword alone. He meant the practice of becoming unconquerable before the sun even considered rising, before your enemies stirred, before your weaker self could negotiate. The ancient warriors rose at the hour of the tiger, between 3 and 5 a.m., when darkness still owns the world. There is no accident in this timing. The hour demands something from you. It strips away every excuse. Your body is heavy with sleep. Your mind clutters with reasons to remain in warmth. This is precisely why they chose it. The first battle is always with yourself. Win here, and the day bows to you. Takuan Soho, the Zen master who counseled the greatest swordsmen of the Tokugawa period, taught that the mind that clings is the mind that dies. What does the comfortable bed represent if not clinging? What is the snooze button if not a small death of will? Every morning you choose comfort over sovereignty. You teach your nervous system a simple lesson. When discomfort arrives, you will fold. But here is what they knew that we have lost. The cold water plunge that follows waking is not punishment. It is recalibration. Modern neuroscience now confirms what samurai discovered through centuries of practice. Cold immersion triggers a massive release of norepinephrine, the molecule of focus and alertness. Within 90 seconds of submersion, your body shifts from parasympathetic fog to sympathetic clarity. The ancients did not have laboratories. They had results. Picture the courtyard of a provincial dojo in feudal Japan. Steam rises from a warrior's shoulders as he stands dripping beside a stone basin. The water came from a mountain stream. It holds the temperature of winter regardless of season. He did not ease himself in. He submerged completely. Head under. Breath held. 3 full immersions. This was not self-improvement content. This was survival training for the mind. The cold teaches one lesson above all others. You are not your discomfort. The gasping, the shock, the primal urge to escape, these are sensations moving through you. You are the one who remains, the observer, the decider. Every samurai understood that battle would bring far worse than cold water. Pain, fear, exhaustion. If you cannot master yourself in a controlled morning ordeal, you will shatter when chaos finds you in the field. Yamamoto Tsunetomo recorded in the Hagakure that the way of the samurai is found in death. Modern readers mistake this for fatalism. It means something far more practical. Each morning, you must kill the previous version of yourself, the one who wants to sleep in, the one who negotiates with discipline, the one who chooses easy over necessary. The cold water is the executioner. You emerge as someone new, someone who has already conquered the hardest opponent before breakfast. This is not about becoming superhuman. It is about becoming reliably human. Your ancestors understood that willpower is a battery that drains throughout the day. Every decision, every temptation, every moment of friction depletes it. But the morning, the first 60 minutes, operates outside this economy. You are making one decision that eliminates 1,000 others. You are setting the frequency. The rest of the day will harmonize to whatever note you strike at dawn. The modern warrior faces different battlefields. No sword duels, no mounted cavalry charges. But the internal war remains identical. Distraction, procrastination, the subtle erosion of intent. Every time you hit snooze, you are rehearsing surrender. Every morning you choose discipline over comfort. You are building armor that no external force can penetrate. The samurai knew this. They built empires on men who could govern themselves in the dark. The cold water breaks you open. What follows requires you to hold still while everything inside wants to move. After the plunge, the samurai would sit. Not rest, not recover. Sit with the full weight of what stillness actually demands. They called this zazen, seated meditation. 17 minutes, not 15, not 20. 17 was the duration that masters like Hakuin Ekaku prescribed in the 1700s, the length required to shift from performance to presence. You must understand what this is not. This is not relaxation. This is not stress relief. This is not the modern corruption where you sit cross-legged while your mind plans dinner. Zazen is the practice of watching your mind try to destroy your resolve and refusing to move. The samurai used this to build what they called fudoshin, the immovable mind, the mind that remains calm in the center of violence, the mind that observes panic without becoming panic. Takuan Soho explained it to the swordsman Yagyu Munenori this way: "The mind must be like water. It flows where it is needed, but is never captured by any one place." In combat, the warrior who fixates on the opponent's sword hand dies to the kick. The warrior who obsesses over his own fear dies to his hesitation. Zazen trains the mind to be everywhere and nowhere, present without attachment, aware without clinging. This is not philosophy. This is neurology disguised as wisdom. When you sit in zazen, your body will immediately begin negotiating. Your knee will ache. Your back will protest. Your mind will present 10,000 urgent thoughts that suddenly require immediate attention. Each one is a test. Each one is your enemy, showing you how he will attack when stakes are real. The samurai understood that if you cannot sit still for 17 minutes in safety, you will not stand still under the pressure of actual consequence. Here is what happens in the nervous system during proper zazen. Your breath slows, your heart rate drops. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, increases in activity while your amygdala, the fear center, quiets. The ancients measured this differently. They said you are separating observer from observed. You are learning to witness your fear without becoming your fear. In battle, this gap between stimulus and response is the difference between life and death. Miyamoto Musashi wrote in the Book of Five Rings that you must train day and night in order to make the spirit of combat your normal state. Zazen is how this becomes possible. You are not trying to eliminate thought. You are learning to let thought exist without letting thought command you. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back to breath, you are doing a repetition. You are strengthening the muscle of attention. The samurai did not have neuroscience terminology, but they knew that a distracted warrior is a dead warrior. The posture itself is warfare. Spine straight, chin slightly tucked, hands in cosmic mudra position, left hand cradling right, thumbs barely touching, eyes half open, gaze soft and downward. Every element serves function. The straight spine keeps you alert, prevents the drift into sleep. The half-open eyes prevent daydreaming while maintaining inward focus. This is the posture of a sentry. You are guarding the gates of your own consciousness. Dogen Zenji, who brought Soto Zen from China to Japan in the 13th century, taught that zazen is not meditation practice. It is simply the Dharma gate of joyful ease. Modern ears hear this as poetry. It is instruction. He means that zazen is not a tool to achieve some future state. It is the state itself. You are not sitting in order to become disciplined later. You are being disciplined now. The sitting is the victory. Every second you remain is territory conquered. The challenge for the modern warrior is that we have been taught to value only action that produces visible results. We scroll, we consume, we chase dopamine spikes disguised as productivity. Zazen offers nothing to this hunger. It gives you no content, no progress bar, no likes, just you and the raw mechanics of your own consciousness. This is why most men quit within 3 days. They cannot bear to meet themselves without distraction. But here is the secret the samurai carried into every battle. The observer you build in zazen, the part of you that can watch anxiety without drowning in it, that can notice pain without becoming pain, this observer cannot be defeated. Armies can surround you. Chaos can erupt. Your body can fail. But if you have built the inner fortress through daily practice, there exists a part of you that remains untouched, unconquerable. The samurai called this mushin, no mind, not absence of mind. Mind that cannot be captured or controlled by external circumstance. 17 minutes every morning after the cold plunge. Same time, same place, same posture. This is how discipline becomes identity. This is how the warrior separates himself from men who live at the mercy of their own reactions. You are not meditating. You are building the foundation upon which every other strength will be constructed. Stillness reveals the chaos within. Movement directs it into form. The samurai rose from zazen and reached for the sword not out of aggression but necessity. The body that has been shocked awake and the mind that has been sharpened through observation now require a channel. This is where kata enters. Deliberate, controlled movement repeated until the distinction between practitioner and practice dissolves. This is the sword of directed will. Kata are prearranged forms, sequences of strikes, blocks, and footwork performed alone against invisible opponents. To the untrained eye, they appear theatrical, impractical. But the samurai knew what modern men have forgotten. You do not practice kata to learn how to fight. You practice kata to learn how to direct energy with absolute precision. Every movement contains a decision. Every decision reinforces a pattern. Practice scattered movement, and your life scatters. Practice focused movement, and your entire existence sharpens into a blade. In the year 1665, the sword school of Yagyu Shinkage-ryu documented that their students would perform the same kata sequence 500 times before dawn. Not 500 different techniques, the same sequence. 500 repetitions of identical movement. The body learns what the mind cannot conceptualize. Muscle memory is not about muscles. It is about carving neural pathways so deep that decision becomes unnecessary. Action becomes instinct. Will becomes reflex. Musashi spent the final years of his life in a cave called Reigando, writing the Book of 5 Rings. Before he touched brush to paper each day, he would perform his kata. Not because he needed practice. He had already killed more men in single combat than perhaps any swordsman in history. He performed kata because the warrior never practices for the battle ahead. He practices to maintain the architecture of discipline itself. The moment you believe you have arrived is the moment decay begins. The morning kata session was 30 minutes, not random movement to break a sweat. 30 minutes of deliberately chosen forms executed with full intention. If you train with the sword, you perform your school's fundamental sequences. If you do not carry a blade, the principle remains identical. Shadowboxing, calisthenics, yoga. The specific art matters less than the underlying structure. You are teaching your body that you command it. That impulse bows to intention. That scattered energy becomes directed force through repetition and presence. Here is what happens in your nervous system during focused physical practice. Your cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for motor control and coordination, begins encoding the movement pattern. With enough repetition, the conscious mind can step back. The movement executes without thought. This is not automation in the weak sense. This is mastery. The samurai called it mushin no shin, mind of no mind. You move without moving. You act without the friction of deliberation. In combat, the swordsman who thinks is already dead. The swordsman who has trained until thought becomes unnecessary survives. But kata offers something deeper than physical skill. It teaches you the nature of excellence. Every movement in a kata has a correct form, a precise angle, an optimal distribution of weight and breath. You will never execute it perfectly. This is the point. You are pursuing a standard that exists beyond your current capability. Every repetition is an offering to that standard. Every session is practice in the humility of knowing you will never arrive and the nobility of showing up anyway. Yamaoka Teshu, the 19th century swordsman who mastered the Ito-Ryu school, wrote that, "The sword is the mind. If the mind is not straight, the sword will not be straight." He meant that how you do one thing is how you do all things. If you perform your kata with sloppiness, with half-presence, with the aim of just finishing the 30 minutes, this sloppiness will infect every other domain. Your work will be careless. Your relationships will be transactional. Your word will be negotiable. The morning kata is not about the body. It is about proving to yourself that you are capable of excellence when no one is watching. The modern warrior faces a specific trap. We have been sold the lie that intensity matters more than consistency. That one savage workout erases 3 days of inaction. That motivation is the fuel. Kata destroys this delusion. You perform your forms regardless of how you feel. Tired, energized, motivated, depressed, the practice does not care. The samurai trained in rain, in snow, in illness, in grief. Not because they were superhuman. Because they understood that discipline is the practice of showing up, especially when every part of you argues otherwise. This is where most men break. They can handle the cold water once. They can sit still when inspired. But the repetition, the grinding consistency of performing the same movements every single morning with no finish line in sight, this exposes who is serious and who is performing seriousness. Kata is the mirror that shows you the truth. Are you a warrior, or are you someone who enjoys the aesthetic of warriorship? The sword does not lie. After 30 minutes, you will be breathing hard. Sweat will mix with the cold water, still clinging to your skin. Your muscles will burn. This is not suffering. This is the body confirming that you have kept your promise. You told yourself you would command your energy with precision. You did. This small victory compounds. Tomorrow you will show up again. The day after, again. Slowly, without announcement, you will become the kind of man who does not break his word to himself. This is the foundation of every other strength. The body has been tested. The mind has been sharpened. Now comes the practice that most modern men have lost entirely. The practice of gratitude disguised as necessity. After kata, the samurai would prepare the first meal. Not grab, not consume mindlessly while scrolling. Prepare. With hands still trembling from exertion, they would kneel before a small fire and cook rice in silence. This was not about nutrition. This was about understanding that every act of consumption is an act of receiving, and receiving without acknowledgement is theft from the universe itself. In Zen monasteries during the Kamakura period, which began in 1185, monks followed a practice called oryoki, the formal meal ritual. Every movement was prescribed. How you unwrap your bowls, how you hold your utensils, how you chew, how you clean your dishes afterward. The samurai adopted simplified versions of this practice because they understood what we have forgotten. The way you eat reveals the way you live. Rushed, distracted consumption creates a rushed, distracted life. Deliberate, present eating builds a deliberate, present existence. The meal itself was simple. Rice, miso soup, perhaps pickled vegetables, no protein shake, no optimized macros, no performance nutrition, just food that could be grown, prepared, and consumed with full attention. The minimalism was not deprivation, it was clarity. When you eat complex meals, your attention scatters across flavors and textures. When you eat simply, you can be fully present with the act itself. You taste the rice. You feel the warmth. You notice the satisfaction. This is not poverty. This is wealth that modern abundance has stolen from us. Dogen Zenji wrote extensively about the role of the tenzo, the monastery cook. He elevated this position above all others because he understood that the person who prepares food with care is practicing the same mindfulness as the person who sits zazen. There is no hierarchy between meditation cushion and kitchen. Both are training grounds for presence. The samurai who cooked his own morning rice was not performing a chore. He was continuing his practice. The fire requires attention. The water must be measured. The rice must be washed. Each step is an opportunity to be fully here, fully now. Silence during preparation and consumption was non-negotiable. Not the silence of solemnity or religious performance, the silence that allows you to notice. When you eat in silence, you hear the scrape of spoon against bowl. You feel the texture of rice in your mouth. You notice when you are full. Modern men eat until the food is gone, not until their body is satisfied. We have been trained to override internal signals in favor of external portions. The samurai ate until sufficiency, then stopped. This is discipline that operates below conscious thought. This is the body trained to know its own limits. Here is what happens neurologically during mindful eating. Your insula, the brain region responsible for interoception, your ability to sense internal body states, becomes more active. You actually taste your food. Your satiety signals reach your brain more efficiently. You eat less but feel more satisfied. The ancients did not have fMRI machines. They had centuries of warriors who needed to maintain lean, functional bodies without the luxury of constant abundance. They discovered that presence during meals created natural regulation. No counting, no restricting, just attention. But the deeper practice is gratitude. Before eating, the samurai would pause. Some would recite a simple acknowledgement. I humbly receive this food. Not prayer to a deity, recognition of interconnection. The farmer who grew the rice, the earth that provided soil, the rain that fed the crop, the fire that cooked it, the hands that prepared it, your body that will transform it into energy. Nothing exists in isolation. Every meal is a convergence of 10,000 causes. To eat without acknowledgement is to live as if you are separate from the web of existence. This is the root of all suffering. Yamamoto Tsunetomo recorded in the Hagakure that a samurai should consider himself already dead. Modern readers interpret this as morbid. It is the opposite. It is liberation. When you eat breakfast, knowing that death is certain and timing is uncertain, you cannot take the meal for granted. The rice becomes profound, not because you are being philosophical, because you are being awake. You are tasting life itself. This is not about being grateful for being alive. This is about being alive enough to notice aliveness. The modern addiction to distraction makes this practice nearly impossible. We eat while watching screens. We drink coffee while reading news. We consume meals as fuel between tasks. This is not efficiency. This is numbness. The samurai knew that a warrior who cannot be present with his own nourishment cannot be present on the battlefield. The enemy will exploit that gap. Life will exploit that gap. Every moment you are partially present is a moment your opponent is gaining ground. After eating, the bowls are cleaned immediately, not left for later, not stacked in a sink, cleaned with the same attention that went into preparation and consumption. Hot water, simple movements. This completes the cycle. You received, you consumed, you returned to order. There is no separation between sacred practice and mundane task. Washing your bowl is zazen. Cooking your rice is kata. The division exists only in the mind that has not been trained to see clearly. 20 minutes for preparation, 10 minutes for eating, 5 minutes for cleaning, 35 minutes total. In this time, you have practiced gratitude, discipline, presence, and completion. You have trained your nervous system to move slowly in a world that demands speed. You have proven to yourself that you are capable of doing one thing at a time with full attention. This is the skill that separates masters from amateurs in every domain. Not talent, not intelligence. The ability to be where you are, doing what you are doing, without part of your mind already racing ahead to what comes next. The monastery is not the battlefield. The dojo is not the marketplace. Every samurai who trained in isolation eventually faced the same test. Can this discipline survive contact with chaos? The ancient warriors did not practice Misogi as an end in itself. They practiced so they could carry the temple with them into a world that would try to destroy it every single day. This is where most modern men fail. They mistake the morning ritual for the destination. The ritual is the forge. Your life is the battlefield where you discover what you actually built. Takuan Soho warned the swordsman Yagyu Munenori about this exact trap. He said, "To think that the way is found only in temples and monasteries is not correct. The way is in ordinary life." A warrior who is disciplined only when conditions are perfect is not disciplined. He is dependent. True mastery reveals itself in interruption, in disruption, when your alarm fails, when guests arrive unexpectedly, when work erupts before dawn. Can you still find the cold water? Can you still sit? This is the question that separates those who practice discipline from those who have become discipline. The samurai developed a concept called heijoshin, the mind of equanimity. Not the equanimity of calm waters, the equanimity of remaining centered while the storm rages. They trained for this specifically. After the morning ritual concluded, they would deliberately enter chaos. The marketplace, the court, the training hall filled with younger warriors testing their resolve. The morning practice was not about creating peace. It was about building a center of gravity so strong that external turbulence could not displace it. Here is the integration strategy the ancient warriors used. They did not try to recreate the full morning ritual during the day. That is the mistake of the beginner. Instead, they carried micro-practices, breath practices that could be done in 3 breaths, postural resets that took 10 seconds, mental check-ins that required no time at all, just awareness. Musashi called this perceiving that which cannot be seen. He meant that the trained warrior notices when he is drifting from center before the drift becomes catastrophic. Modern language calls this metacognition. The samurai called it staying alive. The most practical technique they employed was what Zen masters called one-point awareness. Throughout the day, regardless of activity, you maintain a sliver of attention on your lower abdomen, the tanden, located roughly 2 inches below your navel. Not focus, not concentration, just a thread of awareness that keeps you anchored in your body rather than lost in your thoughts. When you are in a difficult conversation, the thread holds. When you are facing a deadline, the thread holds. When fear arrives, the thread holds. This is not mysticism, this is neurology. Attention on the body pulls you out of rumination and into presence. But integration requires something harder than technique. It requires the willingness to be different. The modern world is designed to make you comfortable, distracted, and reactive. Your discipline will make others uncomfortable. When you do not drink at the gathering, you become a mirror for their lack of restraint. When you do not complain about waking early, you expose their excuses. When you remain calm under pressure, you reveal that their chaos is a choice. The samurai understood this. They trained knowing that mastery separates you from the herd, not through arrogance, through simple, observable difference. Yamamoto Tsunetomo recorded that the way of the warrior is death. He also recorded this: if a retainer will just think about what he is to do for the day at hand, he will be able to do anything. These statements are not contradictory. They are the same instruction from different angles. You carry death awareness, the knowledge that your time is finite, which makes every day sacred. and you focus only on today, this hour, this breath, which makes overwhelm impossible. The samurai did not live in the past or future. They lived in the gap between heartbeats. This is where mastery exists. The challenge for you is not knowledge. You now know what the ancient warriors did. The challenge is implementation in a world they never faced. Your battlefield includes algorithmic manipulation designed to hijack your attention, processed food engineered to override satiety signals, social structures that reward comfort and punish discipline. The samurai faced swords and arrows. You face invisible enemies that infiltrate through screens and subtle conditioning. Your morning ritual is not old-fashioned. It is the most modern act of rebellion available. Here is the integration framework distilled. First, protect the morning above all else. Sleep schedule bends to accommodate the 4 a.m. wake, not the other way around. Social obligations that compromise your practice are obligations you decline. This is not selfishness. This is self-preservation. A warrior who abandons his morning ritual to please others becomes useless to everyone, including those he tried to please. Second, install breath checkpoints throughout the day. Before meals, before meetings, before difficult tasks, 3 conscious breaths. This stitches the morning presence into the fabric of your hours. Third, maintain 1 non-negotiable physical practice beyond the morning, not a second workout. A deliberate movement performed with full attention. 10 push-ups done with perfect form and complete presence are worth more than 100 done while your mind plans dinner. The samurai did not count repetitions. They counted moments of unified body and mind. Fourth, protect silence. Even 5 minutes of zero input, no music, no podcasts, no conversation allows your nervous system to recalibrate. Modern warriors are terrified of silence because silence reveals what we have been running from. The samurai sought it deliberately because they knew the enemy lives in the unexamined interior. Fifth, end the day as you began it. Not with another cold plunge, with review, the samurai practice of hansei, reflection. You examine the day not to judge, but to learn. Where did you maintain center? Where did you lose it? What will you adjust tomorrow? This is not journaling as therapy. This is reconnaissance. You are gathering intelligence on your own patterns so you can fortify weaknesses before the enemy exploits them. 3 minutes, no more. Presence, not analysis. The ultimate test of integration is this. Can you lose the morning ritual for a week and return to center within a day? The beginner depends on perfect conditions. The master carries his center regardless of conditions. You are building toward the day when the ritual is no longer something you do, but something you are. When the cold water lives in your willingness to face difficulty. When zazen lives in your ability to observe without reaction. When kata lives in your precise execution of every task. When the rice bowl lives in your gratitude for every moment. The samurai are dead. Their world is gone. But the principles they discovered through centuries of proximity to death remain true. Discipline is the practice of keeping promises to yourself when breaking them would be easier. Mastery is the ability to do what is necessary regardless of how you feel. Integration is the art of carrying your center into chaos without losing yourself. You do not need a sword. You need the willingness to forge yourself in the cold and dark hours when no one is watching. This is the path. Walk it or do not. But know that everything you want exists on the other side of the comfort you are unwilling to abandon.